Hello, my name is Suzanne Hunt, and I am a clairvoyant or an intuitive, a healer, and a spiritual teacher. And today I'm going to be talking about understanding your intuition. It speaks only your language. And last month, I talked a little bit about our inner wisdom. And this conversation is a little bit of a continuum on that same topic. So some of us may have great clarity around our intuitive information, and others of us may be looking to open that door and to start receiving the benefits of having that connected with our intuitive wisdom. And this conversation is hopefully for everyone. Maybe there will be something for you here. Because one of the reasons we would like to be connected with our intuitive wisdom, we want to feel more supported. We want to feel more confident in our decision making. And we want to have a little more clarity when there are too many options or when there's confusion that comes up in whatever nature it may. So we live in a very advanced society, and there's lots of information out there. There's storehouses of information with anything we'd like to Google, anything we would like to get personal advice or professional advice. There is information everywhere at the touch of a fingertip. We can get on our phone or our computer and find all kinds of answers. We have social media influencers. We have YouTube videos like this one you may be watching. We have our family and our friends and loved ones who may want to give us advice or have an opinion about decisions that we should make. But when it all comes down to it, we need to reach in and decide which choice is right for us. Which path or which avenue feels like the one we want to be going down in that particular moment. So one of the challenges with our intuitive or learning to open up our intuition is that there's really no clear-cut manual that will tell us how to open up our intuition. And one of the reasons for that is that our intuition is so very distinct to us. It's very natural to us, but it's very unique to us. So there's really no book of learning, although there's lots of information, but we really need to delve in and discover that language that our intuition is speaking to us. And it's a learned kind of thing. So another point I want to make is that our intuitive information is filtered through our feelings, our experiences, our memories, through our good times and our bad times. So we have all that kind of experience, and our intuitive messages are filtered through all of that material, if you will, when we start to recognize them. And so one challenge that people find is that sometimes a message or information comes to us and it feels a little bit too familiar. And well, that's just my thought, or that's just something that happened to me, or that's too familiar in my mind for it to be an intuitive message. And what I like to teach in my classes, all of my classes, we study, we do work to open up our intuitive channels, is that they feel familiar to us for exactly that reason. The messages are bubbling up through our own information. So if we have this impulse to want to doubt or discount some kind of an intuitive message or feeling or awareness, however that may come to us, we want to discount them because they're too familiar, I would invite you to let that go, because the natural flow of that information may have a familiarity to it. So we may start to doubt that that message is real, or that we're really getting an intuitive piece of information. And we might think, well, that can't be right. That's just my imagination. But I want to talk about how our imagination is a wonderful piece of putting our intuitive repertoire, if you will, together. And while it's easy to discount our imagination because it's just a flowing sense, or it's a flowing imagery, or flowing notions or nudges or feelings, um, I want to say here that opening and letting that imagination flow will help strengthen our intuition. And so one of the ways I like to talk about this is, in my view or my truth, there's kind of a continuum of our natural awarenesses, if you will. We have our very alert states on one side. We have our relaxed, but a lot of clarity, maybe a little bit more on that continuum. And then moving more towards the direction, we have our meditative states where we are very open to mental imagery, or if it's audio kinds of information that comes to you, voices or words that might come to us, or feelings that might come to us, or sensations. And so that place right there in our meditative space is very fertile ground for our imagination. And that fertile ground for our imagination is a door, like a door opening for our intuitive or our intuition. Because if we go down in the continuum, we move into our unconscious mind, our deep sleep, where we really do truly connect with our deepest self, our dream state. So on the continuum, from our waking state to our dream state, our imagination is a very fertile space that we can nurture, that we can water and give fertilizer, and that we can help to grow by validating those experiences. So, no matter how your intuitive messages come to you, and some of us have more of a visual kind of a natural ability, some of us have more words or thoughts, or we may hear voices, or voices in our heads, or thoughts in our heads that give direction. Some of us may have more of a feeling. We feel into a decision, we feel into what is going to be right for us, or have a feeling about which direction to go. And then there is a fourth one that we might think of like our knowingness, which is really coming in from the crown. It's when we just suddenly know something is true. And imagination can feed all of these natural intuitive abilities by giving us that freedom, that ability to nurture and grow, and that aspect of ourselves, that intuitive aspect of ourselves. And when we start to grow that intuitive awareness and find um, that space within us, we can learn to recognize it. And that recognition will begin to give ourselves the proof that our analytical mind is looking for. So, no matter what kinds of information you may receive, or what kinds of natural ability you may have, imagination helps to open up that flow and to bring it in so that we can become aware of it. So validating our imagination would be a great first step to understanding and getting familiar with our own intuitive self. Another area that I think is wonderful to help grow our intuition is to start working with intention. And so intention is like when we feed the plant with fertilizer or water. It's being intentional about, what am I doing to grow my intuition? What am I doing to open up this space for myself? Am I paying attention to my nudges and my inspirations and my visual imagery that comes in? Am I am I validating that part of myself? Um, am I deciding what I want to create and in the intuitive space, and then moving forward to give myself the freedom and time that it might take to develop it? So when we listen to our to our intuition and those nudges that come to us, we can start to build the evidence that the brain craves for. Because we have an experience, maybe we have a nudge or we have an idea that we want to follow through or stop at a store or take a class or talk to a particular person about a concern we have, whatever it may be. When those influences come to us and we follow up on them and we begin to recognize that they have validity, then we start to build the evidence, so to speak, that the intuitive mind, that the analytical mind craves. And that's exactly what intuitive training is, actually, is working with that imagination, working with our intention, and developing that storehouse, which may be created by journaling, by making notes and remembering what worked and what didn't, what kinds of nudges we got that we wanted to follow through that were supportive and that meant something to us. And just being in a space where we can let our imagination flow, whether it's meditation, yoga, walking out and getting out into the fresh air and into nature, spending time alone, and even daydreaming can be a wonderful way to let our imagination grow. I even like to let my imagination flow when I'm driving. If I'm driving a long distance and I'm in the car, the hum of the car, the repetitiveness lets my mind open up and insights and discoveries come to me through that channel. So, imagination and intention. And then a third way we could start to open up the doors to our intuitive awareness is through building neutrality. So, what is neutrality? It is setting aside our emotions or thoughts that may not be supportive, setting aside any thoughts that might get in the way of our letting that intuitive flow come in, which might be worry, stress, effort, or control, or even attachment to the outcome. If we're trying to make a decision and we want to bring in our intuitive and creative and deep self, and deep inner self to give us that wisdom we want to have, we want to be open and we want to be neutral to the answer. If we're attached to a certain outcome and our emotions are built around that attachment, it's really hard to be neutral. So we can't make the intuitive information come in, but we can learn to be in a space of neutrality and let the messages, let the intuition come to us in a space of divine, natural flow. And what else did I want to say? So in summary, we can validate our imagination to open up that intuitive doorway. We can be intentional about what we want to create and how we want to develop our intuition. And then we can practice neutrality to let the guidance come to us in divine timing. And if you would like to learn more about working on your intuition, I invite you to check out my website for classes. I have spiritual development, personal development classes out on my website. And all of my classes, my healing meditation classes, focus on opening up, tuning and toning the intuitive mind and working with visual imagery and working on our neutrality. So you can find me on www.energetichealingarts.com, www.energetichealingarts.com, all together. And I'll post that website down in the YouTube as well. And so I look forward to seeing you on another YouTube video, possibly a class or workshop. And I wish you the blessings, all the blessings that you deserve.